I wonder if we spoil ourselves too much during the lead-up to a game's release. Recently I've played the demo for FF16 and that got me thinking on this topic. Generally people associate being spoiled as getting fed information almost exclusively about the story of a game that wasn't shown in the trailers. Music, the inner workings of combat, how exploration works, overall minor visual details, NPCs, and the tone that the game is going for, amongst other things, aren't usually considered spoilers, in general. Only story-related content that wasn't in the marketing. Is it correct to think like that? Playing through the FF16 demo, not only you experience the whole introduction of the game, but also a section later in the game without the context of why you are there, why you have the powers you do have, why you are doing what you are doing. And the powers you do have are given out of order, related to the place you currently are, so you have an experience closer to the end of the game regarding the combat. And all of that even before you are able to actually play the full game, as the demo released more than a week before the launch. And that got me thinking, doesn't all this exposure just make us more cynical towards the whole game? When bite-sized contents of the game are served to us like that, in order to entice us, won't that just contaminate our opinions of it since the contents are given in a way for us to examine it, so that we are convinced of its quality, rather than enjoy it? And when we do finally play the full game, after being bombarded by all the marketing/trailers/demos, we go with more of a mindset of a reviewer, looking for the tiniest spots to criticize, or of the know-it-all, already bored because you already seen a lot of what the game offers due to the aforementioned material, rather than as a spectator, that wants to be amazed. Doesn't all this exposure and desiccation to what usually is the game's biggest strengths just strips it of its mystique and sense of wonder? I have an aunt that lives in the far, far away country of Austria. And she used to visit me and my family once a year. My mom, when we were visiting my aunt, decided to buy me and my siblings a Wii. Back then, Nintendo consoles were region-locked, meaning that the only time I could get new games that worked with my console was when my aunt came to visit us. That particular Christmas, I asked her to bring me several games, in the hopes that they would last me months. These games were Xenoblade Chronicles, The Last Story, Pandora's Tower and Skyward Sword. Yes, I was and am a big fan of Japanese games, and I followed Operation Rainfall closely. But for me to be able to play Skyward Sword, I needed the Wii controller add-on, the Wii Motion Plus. So I also asked my aunt to bring me that. When she came to visit us, she brought us everything, including something unexpected, a game I didn't ask for. Back then, I also considered myself as a true gamer, so when I saw that the Wii Motion Plus came with a game called Red Steel 2, a game I never heard of, shit, my aunt bought me a shovelware game I never asked for, and now I'm stuck with it for a year instead of a better game. Freaking clueless aunt. How could she? Time went by, and I finished and thoroughly enjoyed all the games that were given to me. Then all that was left was that garbage game called Red Steel 2. One day I was too bored and I honestly had nothing to play, as I was still a kid with no money and my parents would only give me games on my birthday and on Christmas. So having decided that Red Steel 2 would be a better option than standing around looking at the ceiling, I booted the game up. And I was blown away at how fun the game was. It had a great art style, the movement and gameplay was fluid and fun, and honestly, it was one of the best use cases for the Wii's motion and point controls. Better than Skyward Sword even. Either because I was too young to keep up with all the gaming news back then, or I was too much of a true gamer to pay attention to smaller releases, Red Steel 2 completely missed my radar. Never seen a trailer for it, never heard anyone speaking of it, online or otherwise. Hell, it was technically the second game in the franchise, and I never even heard the name of the first game. And honestly, sometimes I wonder if that complete ignorance wasn't partially the reason why I enjoyed it as much as I did. Having zero expectation, not knowing when the game would throw a curveball at you, or just having that pure innocence going into it, played a part into imprinting the game on me, or at least in leaving such a great impression that I remember the game to this day, when I don't remember most games I played back in that era. And honestly, that was the last time I went 100% blind into a game, almost 13 years ago. Which brings me back to my original question, are we spoiling ourselves too much? I get that companies need to sell their games to us, and money is scarce, that we need to make sure our $60, scratch that, it's $70 now, is being properly used, but in doing so I feel like we are losing a bit of that wonder that we would have if we went blindly into a game and letting it blow our minds away, instead of going in aware of its strengths and weaknesses, already skeptic of how we would feel about our time with it. And with the internet being more popular than ever, and the innate desire of human beings to bond with other and not being cave hermits living in a distant countryside, it makes it even harder to not be spoiled in several minor aspects of any said game, like its music, scenery, dialogue, if a game have big twist or not. And all that slowly chips away the sense of discovery and its capacity to surprise us that early games had. Or at least that it felt they had. Do I have a better solution to this particular topic? No, I don't. Nothing short of cutting off the internet completely from our lives would solve this, and even then there would be consequences of doing this, such as becoming a more secluded person than I already am, and failing to discover hidden gems of games that I might have missed otherwise. But I feel like it's good that we at least start openly discussing this topic, or at least start acknowledging it, in the hopes that one day we manage to recapture that sense of wonder, without the trade-off of achieving that being so drastic.